Kofi Annan's mission in Syria, which appears to hope that Syria's President Assad will negotiate his own departure, seems utterly doomed. Instead, America, the Western world, indeed the civilized world, should attempt to dislodge the Assad regime. But is there a smart way to do it? For a number of reasons, military intervention is unlikely to work well in Syria. Unlike in, say, Libya, Syria is not a vast country with huge tracts of land where rebels can retreat, hide, and be resupplied. Syria is roughly 1/10 the size of Libya, but with 3 times as many people. Perhaps for this reason, the Syrian rebels have not been able to take control of any significant part of that country. The geopolitics of military intervention are also unattractive. In Egypt and even in Libya, all major regional powers, world powers, were on the side of dislodging the regime, or at least passively accepting that it would happen. In Syria, that's not the case. Iran and Russia have both maintained strong ties to the Assad regime. So were the Western powers to intervene, it would quickly become a proxy struggle with great power-funded militias on both sides. That would result in a long, protracted civil war with civilian casualties that would dwarf the current numbers. Think of the Lebanese civil war of the 1980s that lasted a decade, killed over 150,000 people, and displaced over 1 million. The Syrian regime has stayed intact. There have been no major defections from the army, intelligence service, or business community. Why? Well, the regime is Alawite, a Shiite sect that represents about 10% of Syrians, and the key military and intelligence posts belong to Alawites. These loyalists stick with the regime because they know that in a post-Assad Syria, they would likely be massacred. But Assad has also been able to stop defections from the Sunni and Christian members of the ruling elite, presumably with a mix of threats and bribes. Now, that's where the regime might be vulnerable. Syria is not an oil state. The regime does not have unlimited resources with which to buy off elites. So were truly crippling sanctions to be put in place, including an embargo on energy, it is likely that the regime would begin to crack. That might mean a brokered exit for the Assad family or a full-scale collapse of the regime, but it seems unlikely that the regime can persist without cash. It would be morally far more satisfying to do something dramatic that would topple the Assad regime tomorrow. But starving the regime might prove the more effective strategy. For more on this, you can read my